Hello everyone, I'm going to do this one while driving, so you get to see me in my afternoon commute. Of course it's 5 o'clock and I'm leaving work, so you will be with me, and it's 36 degrees out. It's November, early November. I'll get to that part in a minute, but I'm Doug Marola, the freelance teacher on all the platforms I've mentioned before, where you can get educational services, including testing services. So one of the neat things about doing these while driving is you get to see all the different kinds of light. These fall evenings are fantastic, especially up here in the Northeast, where I like it, and I like it cold. So the Maunder minimum and the 200 years of cold we have coming is, to me, something pretty neat. I'll be getting to more of that as we go through. Maybe I open this up, that'll help us out a little bit, make me look I'm losing my hair, but so what. This one is, I'm calling this one Bad People Don't Do Good Things. And I'm gonna lead in with the Project Veritas expose of ABC and the unintentional leakage of the fact that ABC spiked the Jeffrey Epstein story. They had it for 3 years, and they knew that this guy Epstein was a rapist, was a molester, a pedophile, and he had a ring of powerful people who used his services, and he was a disgusting, dangerous guy. And ABC spiked the story in 2016. Powerful names were connected to the Epstein fiasco. One of them was Clinton. And guess what? If the Epstein story had gotten out in 2016, it would have hurt Hillary Clinton's presidential run. So this woman for ABC was caught on a hot mic, and she had the story. They had the Epstein story. They had the woman that had gone into hiding. They interviewed her. She had given names, details, information, written things down. And the Epstein story was there on their lap. And this one news lady kept getting stifled. They kept blocking the story. The heads at ABC, to protect power and the people in power that they knew, they were willing, and they knew what Epstein was, and they said, you know what, spike the story, end it. And they gave this woman excuses, right? No one cares. Who's this Epstein guy? No one knows who he is. This is the biggest story of the year now, especially with the fact that he allegedly committed suicide in his cell. And she's out on a hot mic saying, I had the story and this is terrible. And so the title of this, Bad People Don't Do Good Things, these are bad people who run your corporate media. These are bad people. To let this Epstein story go, to kill the Epstein story, meant that they knew that there was going to be more harm. And that's fine to these people. That's okay. The heads of ABC didn't care. When you're told by the New York Times, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC, the Young Turks, when you're told by these loser outfits that you're filled with toxic masculinity, and I'm talking to the guys out there, you're filled with toxic masculinity. Don't you know this is the Me Too era? They don't care about women at all. They don't care about young women or pedophilia or having horrible things done to people. It doesn't mean anything to them. And how can you show that? When you do that in the news, in the press, You intentionally kill the story. You know it's not going to get out there, and so therefore the behavior will continue. It's like the Harvey Weinstein stuff. They knew what Weinstein was all about for years. There's even recordings of people giving Academy Award speeches saying now you don't have to pretend to like Harvey Weinstein anymore. They knew. They're not upset about anything except that you know. That's all. They're not worried or angry about anything other than the secret is out and now they have to cover it up even more. These are disgusting people. Corporate media is, as Donald Trump said, the enemy of the people. It really is. When you have people who will set it up so that a predator of young women can do his thing more, you're an enemy of the people. And the corporate media is complicit. And you know, it's funny to see what they said was wrong with the Epstein story. They told this woman, the woman who was caught on the hot mic, this journalist, they told her it didn't matter. It didn't pass muster. It didn't meet their editorial standards. That's what ABC came out after this hit. Project Veritas doing great work. After this story hit and Veritas released it, ABC came out with an announcement, of course, very bland, very boilerplate, saying this didn't meet our editorial integrity. That's actually funny, seeing that they've had the Russia hoax news that passed editorial muster for 2 years. That stuff actually passed and got checked off as acceptable for the ABC news desk. They also have had stupid stuff like, I think they had the Navy was talking about how aliens might be real. They had that. That was a national news story. They had, Donald Trump said and was caught being recorded saying that when you're wealthy and famous, when women will let you grab them by the you-know-what. It's a family show, so I got to be careful. That was, according to the press, not just a national story, that was a national scandal. And they ran with it, and they milked it for all of it was worth. So I said to my seniors today, you have to actively be stupid if you're going to take anything the mainstream media says seriously. You have to actively be dumb. And I said it that way on purpose. I don't usually talk like that because that's not really the way to do it, right? So, I have my notes here. Can't really look at them too carefully because I'm driving, but I was, explaining things to the 12th grade, all the hoaxes, all the fear-mongering, all they ever try to do, these bad people, is make you afraid, confused. They want you to argue among yourselves, or they want us to argue amongst ourselves and bicker and fight all the time, particularly when it comes to race. They want you to walk around Washington, D.C. wearing a pussy hat, talking about the evils of men and toxic masculinity and male privilege and all these kinds of things. And when you see them doing this, I want you to think to yourself, these are the same people who were willing to let a rapist roam the earth doing what he does in massive numbers, because it wasn't Epstein alone. Epstein just was the head of the cabal of powerful Hollywood, political, and entertainment types. He allowed them, he hooked them up. He was, in fact, the pimp of this operation. He was the, along with Maxwell, the top brass of this whole syndicate. And so when they tell you these things, you need to say, you're the enemy of the people, and I'm not going to comply. I choose not to listen to anything you say, and I'm not going to believe anything you say. And you'd be right, because these are not people who are honest and worthy of your time. I mean, think about it. I got the motivation for this by watching one of the Owen Benjamin live streams on unauthorized.tv. And he's been on fire lately. And he brought up a great point. He said, he was a top comedian, represented by Creative Artist Agency, CAA, was in major movies, hobnobbed with the top of the pyramid at Hollywood. And he mentioned that he had never even done anything that would even be rated a misdemeanor. Nothing serious. Yet, he has been banned from Twitter, PayPal, Patreon, most of YouTube, and Facebook. And I want you to think about that. On Twitter and Facebook, other media outlets, you can find porno. You can find people who are pushing the idea that little children should be put on hormone blockers and have their genders altered because they're trans. That's just the stuff I can think of while driving home from work. You can find all kinds of sickness on social media. Look at me. I just had my Twitter account suspended. I'm not going to play their game and give my phone number and erase the tweet. They want me to bend the knee. They want me to say I'm sorry for telling Mark Dice. Mark Dice had a really funny tweet. And I told Mark Dice, I replied to one of his tweets. Mark Dice's tweet was really good because he was making fun of Charlie Kirk. And I just simply tweeted out that Owen Benjamin has been destroying this mongoloid-looking Charlie Kirk character for weeks, which is true. He's just been crushing Kirk because Charlie Kirk is obviously a grifter and a weirdo and not a real American and not a nationalist. Basically a neoconservative puppet, grifter, nutcase. And I said just that. It wasn't even that long. It was like Owen Benjamin has been destroying this mongoloid for weeks, something like that. I got my Twitter account suspended, and to allow my Twitter account to come back after 12 days or whatever it is, I have to give them my phone number and then delete the tweet. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play their game. I refuse to comply. I won't do it. So my Twitter career is pretty much over, which is fine. And like a lot of these things in our society that they tell us make us free, playing social media games is not freedom. But not only that, my larger point is, I've never even gotten a speeding ticket. The worst that's ever happened to me is I've gotten some parking tickets. I parked in a crosswalk not too long ago where there's nowhere to cross, and I appealed it and got denied. So I had to pay the $115 ticket for parking in a crosswalk that had just been arbitrarily painted in my neighborhood. I owed the IRS a couple of years ago $78 and change, $82, something like that. It had been a couple of years prior. I got a really nasty letter from the IRS telling me I'd better pay up, or there were going to be problems. Right? Seize assets. If I don't pay tax, eventually they wind up putting you in prison. Right? You're going to be in a cage because you owe $78. And my point is, bad people don't do good things. And the people who rule over us, who expect you to be afraid all the time, and I'm talking about the corporate media, they are not on your side. They're not actually looking out for you at all. It's slavery 4.0 to have a plantation of tax cattle, of tax slaves. Everyone has to be stupid, and everyone has to be confused, and everyone has to feel that they're being watched, and everybody has to play by the same rules, otherwise it won't work. Well, I think you can choose to not play by the rules. I think you can be free in an unfree world in a lot of ways. I'm not talking about any kind of craziness or violence. I'm talking a lot about mindset, talking about breaking out of the grabbler social media matrix. These are ways to actually be free. And so my last point is, because I have a lot here, but I won't go into everything. My last point is dealing with what I had talked about earlier with the fact that it's so cold. Right? It's November 8th and it's 36 degrees out. It's winter. And if you go a little bit up north, it's below freezing. Now that's early. And I bring that up intentionally because we've been told for 35 years about global warming. And this is the thing about global warming that I can't escape. I just can't get it out of my head. You know how I just told you about how these sickos were willing to let a pedophile, a rapist, a head of a rape gang, basically, they didn't care that he was out. They crushed the story, they stifled the story, they spiked it. Remember, we just talked about that. ABC News. We don't care if young girls get hurt. It doesn't help us. It could hurt Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. So we got to help. We got to bow down to power, and we need to see to it that this pedophile rapist walks free for more time. So those same sources, those very same sources that spiked the Epstein story, those are the people that keep telling me about global warming. And that's the part that I want to stress to you. All I do with a lot of this is ask, who's telling me this? Who keeps harping on me about global warming? And it's the same people, and it's not, this event, this Epstein affair, is just the latest in my own kind of crusade, it's just another bit of ammo, another bit of evidence that I think I'm right, that the whole global warming thing is a joke. Because the same outfits, New York Times, ABC News, CNN, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, Time Magazine, these are the same outfits that are constantly keeping us afraid, constantly lying to us, always sticking with an agenda and not informing us of anything. They're the ones that keep telling me that I need to alter my behavior because the planet is going to get 2 degrees hotter in 100 years. Oh, and here's the computer model that shows it. And then when the computer model is shown to be false, as the hockey stick chart was shown to be completely false and horribly flawed, someone put in baseball statistics into that hockey stick chart for global warming, and it came out with a hockey stick chart. So when people come out with these things, and they show the flaws in the argument and the so-called evidence, you know what the ABC News pro-pedophilia rape outfit does? They call them global warming deniers. They call them bad people. They say that they are anti-science. And that's the part that I'm telling you about now. The very same bad people are not suddenly going to do something good and wonderful in saying our environment is getting hurt. There's too much pollution and nonsense in the environment, and it would be good if we would be better stewards of our environment and be more clean, and it would help things in the ecosystem. If that's what they were doing regularly, I would listen. You know what? It would be terrible if there are pollution problems. But the same people who are protecting Jeffrey Epstein are the ones that are telling us how to behave. They're the ones telling us how we should react. These despicable, repellent human beings keep preaching to us about how we need to act. And bad people aren't going to do that. So there's something that you really need to focus on. And I'll say it a few more times. I'll say it probably till you're tired of it. But the corporate media needs to be ignored and mocked. This Epstein Affair has proven it to be the case. If you're paying attention to ABC News after this, you're stupid. And if you're paying attention to any of the other mainstream outlets who, guess what? Either CBS or NBC banded together with ABC to find the person who leaked the video. Now they want to do justice. Now they want to do their job. Now ABC wants to work hard to find a source. They didn't care that young women would get hurt with Epstein being set free and the story going nowhere. But, we were made to look bad, so now we need to go after the whistleblower. Think about that. The press, the corporate press, ABC teamed up, I think it was with CBS, to find the whistleblower and fire that person. That's disgusting. That's wrong. That's bad. Yet I'm supposed to listen to anything these people say. So I'm not going to. Anything mainstream media says, I'm just going to openly mock and ignore. And I think you should do the same thing. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk soon. This is the Freelance Teacher signing out on a Friday afternoon. Take care.